This is SCP Radio Network coming to you live from Skylab Studios. Up next is Latinas Rising.
Buenas noches, good evening.
Buenas noches.
Hello, ladies.
Gentlemen.
How's everybody doing?
Boys and girls.
Hey, we got
Boys and
here
girls.
in one piece.
Yes, we did. And on time.
And we'll introduce ourselves. My name is Tasha James.
I am Edna Mojica Taylor.
And this is Sol.
Okay.
Sol.
Full of sunshine.
And we are here one day after Valentine's Day.
Yes.
What did you ladies do? Well, you know what? Let's start with intros again for people that are new to the show. Let's start with you, Tasha. Just a little bit about yourself.
Who I am?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Tasha James. I'm a native from South Texas, RGV, Rio Grande Valley, whatever you want to call it, the home of the palm trees. And I'm Afro-Latina. I was born and raised in South Texas. Most of my time I spent in Tamaulipas. And so not only do I speak Spanish, I'm Mexicana as well. And I'm really excited to be on this show. And I am truly grateful to Sol for gifting me this opportunity, not only to speak on issues that affect women of color, but women in general. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things we talked about, or kind of send the girls a message, is where there's passion, there's advocacy. And so that's one of our biggest things, advocating for those that are voiceless.
Thank you, Tasha.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Well, my name is Edna Mojica Taylor, and soy Afro-Quisqueyana. What that means is, before Dominican Republic was named Dominican Republic, it was La Isla de Quisqueya. So just representing before it got colonized. Whoa. And all that good stuff, you know? So here I am with my sisters. So I am, among the things that I'm an advocate for just domestic violence and people that go through domestic violence and sexual assault. Just a voice for people that cannot speak. So I am a survivor of just different things in life, and I use my voice as a tool to teach, to empower, and to motivate. I am one of the co-authors of Latina Rising's first volume book, Woo Woo to Sol. And it's a pleasure to be here with just empowerment all the way through. And today I actually want to give a shout out to my hermanas mexicanas.
Woo!
Yes, as soon as this comes up.
I know.
Is that like a hoot hoot?
Pretty much.
Okay.
I would do a grito, but it's not appropriate for the show.
It's all good. No censoring, I think.
Necesita ¿qué? Tequila, un trago de amargo licor.
Aquí hay mucho tequila Cazadores.
Yeah.
And so
which is one of our sponsors, Tequila
sponsors.
Cazadores,
Yeah.
and Party for You, and Space Cadet, Skylab Studios, and all the wonderful people that make this this show and this radio station. DJ Fluffy, Michael, his wife Brenda, Blanca, mira, ya le quería cambiar el nombre. Everybody here, like, they're so nice, very family friendly, and just amazing, genuine people that they love what they do, and they've been doing it for a long time. And so we really appreciate the platform that they've allowed us to use. And so my name is Sol. I'm actually from the Rio Grande Valley as well. Born and raised, and the land of the palm trees and the border and the chiclets and the dirt. No, I'm just kidding. And a really unique place. I think that's where I learned just the pride that comes with being Mexico-Americana, being Mexican, and just being right there in Mexico, like a couple of steps away from Mexico, and being surrounded by the language, and you're a majority over there, and you're just, the culture is so strong, and so it's a really unique place. And very different from what it was back in 1998 when I left, but it's still, you know, it's not a sleepy town anymore, or towns, but you know, it's still the same thing, very, very strong in its culture and its Mexican culture. Everybody down there, most of them speak Spanish.
Yes. I think that's one of the things when you say uniqueness about South Texas, it's literally in its own world.
Yeah.
But it's rich with culture, and where else can you be where you're the majority, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot to learn from South Texas now. What used to be considered slow is very fast paced now.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot of growth.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I have to agree with you. What we've learned.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of history, because when I moved here, I had to learn that there's a language that is called Tex-Mex. And I literally had
Shout out to Jesus Gonzalez.
Make sure that I knew what that was, because there were some words that I did not relate to and learn. So it was like English and Spanish, and then some words that we could make it up. So it's a lot of history here as well.
A lot.
And so that's where, you know, I was born and raised, and, you know, I saw so many things down there, experienced a lot of things that are very different. Like my parents were migrant farm workers, and, you know, we really, just a very, very humble beginnings. Education was really important for our family. And so that's throughout our whole upbringing, that's what our parents pushed. They really didn't know how to help us with education or with homework, but they pushed it. So anyways, that's a little bit about my background, but I came up here to Houston, and I became involved in law enforcement, and I did 12 years, and 6 of those years I spent in investigations, 3 years in a general investigative unit, very heavy with domestic violence, and then the last 3 years I did in the sex crimes unit, in the adult sex crimes unit, which was something that really just opened up my eyes to a lot of injustices and just a lot of things. And that's where this project comes from. So Latinas Rising our goal is to educate and advocate for issues that affect women and girls. And we focus on Latinas and Latinos, but we really talk about issues that affect everyone, because we can't talk about a woman without talking about a man. Like, we're interconnected. Everything is interconnected. We're all interconnected to each other. Our systems are interconnected. Everything is about people.
Yes.
And I think, you know, the topic that we are covering for 2 parts, that's one of the things that we've had our dialogue amongst each others, and even with Dr. Simon when she calls in, is that teen dating violence is not just subjected to one group or population, right? That is something that doesn't matter the socioeconomical, it doesn't discriminate. And so I think, you know, what you're saying as far as where there's a woman, there's so many interconnected.
Right. You know, you talk about a woman, we talk about family, we talk about, you know, education, we talk about, because children, we talk about health. So, and it's the same thing when you talk about a human being. You're talking about everything that's connected to that human being, including their environment. You know, what is in their environment. So this month, February is a lot of things, right? It's National Children's Dental Health Month. It's American Heart Month. It's Black History Month. It's National Cancer Awareness Month. And so the last episode, we talked about sex trafficking, which was January. Sex Trafficking Awareness Month. We talked about the stroke and heart health. And so what we're going to focus on today, and we actually have a part 1 and a part 2, because it's so freaking huge, like this topic, right? It's the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. And so this show is all about creating awareness and education around social justice issues that affect women, and not just Latina women, but all women, right? And all girls. And so with that, National Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, I think, is as important as Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Correct.
Because it all goes hand in hand. And so I would just like to start off with very basic information that we posted online. And as we go through the shows, we try to market on social media, and so we try to educate that way as well. And I know, Tasha, you wrote a couple of the posts talking about a lot of different issues, like the shooting that just happened yesterday, and how it relates to mental health and mental wellness. And so that's what we try to do with Latinas Rising, is try to use various platforms to educate and advocate, and throw out these really important statistics and fact-based information, because that's one of the things about Latinas Rising
online
that we want to. Oh, it's 8:15. Okay, I'm going to cut it off. What we want to do is we want to create fact-based discussions. Ya no queremos que mi abuelita me dijo esto y mi mamá dice que, mental health is this, y que mental health pues no existe. It doesn't exist because, we're just nerviosas, or we're just neurotic, or we're just crazy, and I think that's going to be, that's really important for our show is, Tasha is a therapist. Edna has been in advocacy for a long time, and I've have experience with the law enforcement side and just all the things that come with that. But with that being said, I'll hand it over to Tasha to let us know
who Dr.
about
Simon is.
Dr. Simon.
Are you on the line?
I am. Good evening.
Good evening. So I'm just going to introduce you. It's a lot, and I had to cut it, y'all. She's so fabulous and great, and has some great experience. But Dr. Simon, Dr. Simon currently holds the position of School Counseling Program Director and Assistant Professor at Our Lady of the Lake University in San Antonio, Texas. Dr. Simon earned her BS, or Bachelor's in Biology, and Master's degree in Counseling from Prairie View A&M University, as well as a PhD in Counselor Education and Supervision from Sam Houston State University. Dr. Simon has helped train school counselors by presenting at the local, state, and national levels, and also international levels, regarding topics including teen dating, violence, career awareness, social media trends, school counselor administrator partnerships. In 2012, Dr. Simon traveled to Costa Rica to further explore counseling programs within the school system and partnerships between school counselors and other support staff. She is currently an active member of various professional organizations, including TSA, which is the Texas Counseling Association, Chi Sigma Iota, TSCA, ASCA, and ACA. She currently serves as a committee member for TCA member recruitment. Have I missed anything, Dr. Simon?
No, I think you kind of got me covered there. But I think one of the biggest things, especially with what we're talking about this evening, is that the majority of my career I've spent it working with adolescents. So for 17 years, I've been working with children ranging from grade 7 through college age. And so this area is one of those that's a passion, because I spent so much time in the school system seeing them on their day-to-day basis and what their habits and trends were.
And if I recall, you actually did your dissertation on teen dating violence.
I did. So for my dissertation, the topic was relating to teen dating violence and the training that school counselors and community members get in being able to help identify and work with adolescents as they're going through the different risk behaviors that are seen through teen dating violence.
So what does that mean for people that may not be aware or have an awareness of, when you're going through a PhD program and you have to do a dissertation, you had to spend countless hours of research on teen dating violence, which makes you, an expert, and you have to defend the work that you've done. And so did I kind of hit it on the money, or?
Yeah, so in layman's terms, I lived it, I slept it, I breathed it, I I mean, it was on our dining room table for about 3 years. Every piece of paper was related to teen dating violence and training and preparation. Even to the point when you mentioned that we went to Costa Rica to do further research to see what those trends look like even outside of our areas here, to see what that was looking like. And the trend surpasses geographics.
Wow. And so a little bit how you and I know each other. We actually worked at one of the school districts in surrounding Houston, and that's how you and I connected. And we were actually part of a after-school activity or program that particularly worked with students of color, like African-American students, but it wasn't just, it was open to other students that wanted to come, but it was also to create a space for them to feel included. And so that's how you and I know each other, and actually have developed a great friendship from there. And so I don't know if the girls have any questions so far, but we're really excited to have you, and we know that you're going to provide us with some great information. I don't want to say great because it's not great to hear the traumatic or the trauma that a lot of these adolescents and young adults are going through or experiencing. But I know a lot of it is also learned behavior. So we'll get into a lot today, and also the following week we'll have a lot of follow-up as well. And so how did you get into this? Why did it become a passion for you? Other than,
this is one of those things here at the lake, we call it Providence. It was Providence that it happened to come across my desk, and from the moment I kind of picked it up, it's kind of stuck with me throughout this time. So in 2006, Governor Rick Perry actually passed legislature that said that schools needed to have some type of plan in place when working with teens in dating relationships. So I know we've been using the term teen dating violence, but it surpasses just a physical violence. This has to do with unhealthy relationships. And so teen dating violence can include the physical, it can include the sexual, but it's also the emotional abuse that is had along. We've talked about, Tasha, we've talked about even that financial abuse, that level of control that takes place in these relationships. And because of that, there have been trends that are coming through, and parents and children need assistance. And they spend quite a bit of their daily lives at school. And this is where those relationships are beginning to be nurtured, and they're carrying out certain things. So there was a responsibility that was put on the school. And as a school counselor, it landed in my lap, and what can we do? And when I began to learn more about it, it opened my eyes even to some of the things that I was doing that was wrong, things that I was doing that was helping to perpetuate the silence that existed. Because as adults, we look at a 15-year-old in a relationship, it's no big deal. They're just kids, it's puppy love, and it's nothing to worry about. When in actuality, that is when they're beginning these relationships, and they really are taking on the persona of adult-like characteristics, even the domestic violence piece.
So tell me about, like, what is considered domestic violence? What is the description? Because you talked about financial, I guess, being suppressed, but also it's not only physical. So what does domestic violence look like?
So when we're talking about teen dating violence, it includes the physical, the pushing, the shoving, any type of physical abuse that may take place. It also includes the emotional abuse, that control, and the language that we're using, and how we're using our words to manipulate situations. And financial. We're seeing financial as a tie too, because when we're looking at the trends of teenagers now, they have all types of additional financial things that they want: cell phone bills, gas for their car, even subscriptions to things like Netflix and things of that nature. And so if you're in a dating relationship and one of the partners is paying the bills, well, if I'm paying your cell phone bill, every time I call, you better answer. Every time I text you, you better answer. And, initially you think, he's calling me, every day, and he calls me every hour, or she's calling me every hour because they love me. But then it begins to be that part of control, because I'm the only one you should be talking to, and I don't want you talking to this person on the phone, or I need to know where you are at every moment of the day. So answer the phone, answer the text, send me a picture, send me a selfie, answer your FaceTime, and let me see everyone who's around you. And I'm paying the bill, and if you don't do what I want you to do, I'm not going to pay that bill anymore.
Dr. Simon, I'm here thinking, as a parent myself, I stalk my kids. Like, I try to make sure that I know what they're doing in a healthy way, because you have to be involved in what they're doing. And I'm thinking, what happens to us parents that are involved in our children's life but don't know what happens when they leave that door? Because when you talk about financial help, or financial abuse, I'm thinking, I'm paying my daughter's bills, my son's his clothes, things like that. What can this other person, this boyfriend or girlfriend, do for my child? What should we be looking for?
So when you're trying to look and identify those signs, those different, the gifts, so if we're looking at financial abuse, when you're looking at the gifts and the things that are given, what is the intent behind that? Some gifts and some intent are innocent, and I'm helping because maybe their parents can't support, and I want to be a supportive system. Or is the intent the control behind it? And then you also want to look at the rates. How often is it taking place? Are they calling at 2 o'clock in the morning, sending texts at 3 o'clock, and expecting responses?
Right. And
so I know we've talked before, too. It's even that communication piece can go past the cell phone, because as a parent, I know parents will say, okay, I'm going to take the phone out. At 10 o'clock, phone is over, phone goes in my room. But if they have access to any type of electronic device, their iPad, their computer, which you may not even think about because, they use it to do their homework, that internet-based, there's still different ways of communication there. You can talk to someone through Facebook and send messages and do video chatting through Facebook or Snapchat or all of that. So if there's even that internet-based technology in their room, parents don't always think about that part. Well, I'm going to take the phone because that's what we think. That's how we talk. We take the phone, and now she's not going to be talking to her boyfriend at night, or he's not going to be getting phone calls from his girlfriend. And I want to keep going back to he, she, because it's not only girls who are victims of unhealthy relationships. Boys can be victims as well.
Right. And Dr. Simon, going back to the types of physical abuse, of abuse, there's physical, there is emotional, and there's sexual. And one of the statistics that really opened my eyes was that 1 in 3 girls, adolescent girls, have suffered from abuse by a dating partner. And there's also a statistic about sexual assault. 12 to 19-year-olds experience the highest rates of sexual assault.
That's young.
18 and 19 experience the highest rates of stalking. And so I think as a parent, we, especially with the technology, I think you touched on the technology, is now they have access, or they're accessible in so many different ways. Like you said, the iPad, the desktop computer, even, video games have a system where you're online. So it's a constant it's constantly having them at will, at any point in the 24 hours in the day. And then when you look at what teenagers or adolescents, when they go to school, they have school like periods, they have classes together, they go to lunch together at times. How do you get away if you're trying to get away from someone that's abusive? It's so much more difficult, especially for a child who, let's say, may not have money besides what mom gives them, who, they can't really change schools by themselves. And so they're kind of trapped, like even more than an adult, because at least an adult, can say, well, I'm leaving and these are the resources that I have. So it really it really like opened my eyes when I saw the sexual assault statistic. And so I wanted to ask you about trauma, because I think a lot of us don't know what trauma can do. And one of the statistics that I read was that a risk factor for becoming a victim is past trauma or past victimization. So can you talk to us a little bit about what should we be looking for, like as far as risk factors? How do we help our kid not be a victim, and what should we look for?
Okay, you touched on quite a few things there.
Yes.
You did mention something that I want to hit on, especially when you talked about basically the breaking up, because that is something that we really have to do a better job of working on, because that's one of our first things. If you're in an unhealthy relationship, break up. You're 15, you're 16, just break up with them. Don't answer his phone calls. Maybe even change your number and let it go. But what we have to work with them on is, what does that breakup plan look like? Because just as you mentioned, they're still in school with the girl or the boy after the breakup occurs. So what does that look like? We can't just simply say, I want you to break up with them. I don't want you to talk to them anymore. What does that look like? So that's that piece that includes working with school officials and law enforcement to help in the event that you have identified these risk factors. You're seeing that. So with the risk factor part, to try and tie that in too, when you're getting the excessive amount of phone calls or contact to the point where it's affecting the daily life activities of the victims, where the victim, sometimes they show fear and sometimes they don't, because they don't always realize what they're in. Sometimes you don't realize that you're in trouble while you're in the midst of it, and it takes someone else being able to say, hey, things aren't right. You're not allowed to be with your friends anymore. He or she is pulling you away from your friends. They're pulling you away from your family. You used to be involved in these certain activities, and now you don't have time for that. So when you start to notice those changing behaviors, that's changing the positive pieces that the victim may have been a part of before, those are those initial signs to look for. You used to be very active. You dressed a certain way, because sometimes it's even those things. They don't want you to wear certain clothes because I only want you to look this way for me. So what is happening to my child as they were 6 months before this relationship took place, and now what's happening now? Is everything that who you're becoming, is it starting to gear towards what this other person is wanting you to be? And when you begin to notice that, if you start talking about an exit plan, then that's exactly what it should be. Even when you're looking at adults who are leaving domestic violence relationships, it's a plan that's put in place.
Right.
What is this going to look like? Making sure you have a support system. If you are going to break up with them, don't do it alone. You don't want to be in a place where it's just the two of you and you're breaking up, because that's a big trigger for violence to occur, because they don't want that relationship to end. If I can't have you, no one else can. So if I'm breaking up with you and it's just me and the aggressor, and only the aggressor can have me, there's no one there to help me, and I don't have a support system. So either that's the point where the abuse can turn violent, or that's the point to where I fall back into it and I say, okay, because I don't have anyone saying, no, we need to go ahead and you need to follow through and we need to exit this relationship.
And I think having those real conversations with the teenagers is important, because if we see the signs, they sometimes don't see it. Oh no, he called me because he loves me. Oh no, it's because she cares. That's why she keeps texting me, make sure that I'm safe. Or oh no, I can't wear this shirt because he likes me in the purple versus the yellow, whatever. And we're looking at this as adults, or people that are aware of what abuse is, and we need to have these talks, even though sometimes they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to even admit that there's something going on, because they don't want the relationship to break up. And because it's such a public, yeah.
It's so public.
And it's important for them to have relationships, friendships and boyfriend and girlfriends and things like that. It's important for them. So they don't want to be that one that's called out, because her man did this to her or the girl did this to him. So it's having those real conversations with them, and including sometimes their peers, like, girl, this is what's happening. Do you see what, he's doing, or vice versa?
There's a few things that are running in my head right now. I know one of the questions that I believe is like college, if counselors are not trained or I guess appropriately trained in high school, what does it look like for college? And that's something I would like to touch on maybe later on. But there's a lot of things that are running in my head right now. I'm thinking about not only heterosexual relationships, but LGBTQ relationships. What does that look like as well for unhealthy dating? But I'm thinking about language. This is something that I keep on looking at. I noted it language, and I'm thinking as a Latina, right? Que somos muy, we're very passionate. Amamos con pasión.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking how much of that sometimes is not appropriate. Right? Eres mi marido, you're only mine.
Yeah.
Right? And it may come across as love and I'm passionate for you, but are we reinforcing learned behavior?
And I've also heard that
and that's why I say to instead of us referring as teen dating violence, it's the unhealthy relationships, because just what you mentioned there, that's not necessarily violent in the words and the passion that's behind your voice, but is it healthy?
Correct.
Is that a healthy component of the relationship?
And I think we talked about this last night about culture and how culture kind of helps with a lot of these unhealthy habits, right? Like Tasha mentioned, having these like dramatic moments, and that's kind of normal for us because we've grown up with the novelas, right? And we think
Corazón Salvaje. That was one of my favorite.
And we think it's normal. And we, as adults, sometimes as adult women, we don't know what healthy relationships are. Like even with our family members, we don't know, we are not taught boundaries. A lot of us grow up with, my husband was like, oh my gosh, this is different. When he came into my house for the first time where I grew up, there was no doors. There was just curtains. And that's in a lot of homes. But stuff like that where you are not taught boundaries. And so it's very difficult. Everything, all your lives are kind of intertwined. Like, oh, mi tío, my uncle is going through this, my cousin, what happened to my cousin? All this stuff is just like so smushed in, and it's acceptable in our culture to be like that. But the repercussions of that is that we really don't know what a healthy relationship looks like,
And I also want to say how being that drama or being that exagerada or being that passionate, guys, they like that. I've heard other men or guys of other ethnicities that they like that. Oh no, that's that feistiness that I like. So it's acceptable.
Yeah.
And that's not cool. And then the girl will feel either, that's cool too, so they'll do the drama thing. And this is real talk. This is what really happens out there.
Yeah. And I think we really need to focus on teaching our kids what a healthy relationship is. But we as adults must know what a healthy relationship is too.
Absolutely.
There has to be respect. There has to be boundaries. What other things do you guys feel that we could do better as a culture to teach healthy relationships?
I think kids have to see it, because we could talk all day, every day about, oh, don't do this and do that. Yeah. But when they see that love, when they see that respect, even though, I don't know what you guys think about it, but I think even when they see a little bit of maybe an argument, but also if you see that argument, you see that there's mutual respect there. And if there was an argument, it will be apologized behavior as well, so they could see, okay, it's not that you cannot fight, because we were made with anger and happiness and sour, we were made with all those feelings. So you have to embrace those feelings, but at the same time you have to show the kids what that is. My kids, we could talk all day. We're very community. We talk a lot, but they like what they see. You know, and they'll call us out like, "Ma, yo, what happened? You know, you're not talking." No, you know. So that's healthy. That's healthy.
So, you know, a lot of the theme that I'm hearing is learned behavior, right? So how do we, so one of the things, and you let me know if I'm right or wrong, Dr. Simon, is those are one of the vulnerability factors, which going back to trauma, what has that person learned? What have they been exposed to, right? And so I know last night we talked about media and how this generation, they're exposed to so much more, right? And so we can have that conversation with our kids and be very involved. But how do you distinguish when they already spend a lot of time on media, and how do you really become aware if there's something going on when you can't really distinguish?
And sometimes you can't.
Are they spending too much time? Because they're already spending a lot of time, right?
On media. Yeah.
Well, and what I kind of hear from what, you know, you're saying, and Edna and Sol, and kind of a commonality in there is removing the silence. Because even when Edna was talking about when you have those arguments, coming back and apologizing, breaking the silence and talking about it. And let's look at what this looks like and putting a name to it. This isn't healthy. This isn't the way it should have gone. Maybe we could have tried it this way. And so if we are able to open those lines of communication and let, you know, adolescents know, and even adults who are going through things that we said this last night, that what did you say, Tasha? The dirty laundry stays in the house.
Yeah.
You know, we were taught what happens in the house stays in the house.
Yeah. You know, you also talked about how other barriers, church, religion, what we've been taught. You stay in a marriage, you stay in a relationship, or they're supporting you. They're with you with your kids, things of that nature that get reinforced down the line or as we grow up. So how much, I mean, do you think that's a contributing factor as well, or?
Absolutely. So when I was in Costa Rica, that was the big part. The Catholic Church, that was when I met with the counselors there and the social workers, and they would say that it's very different. They could identify, and they could who was a victim of abuse. But divorce wasn't an option. Leaving wasn't an option. And what you're supposed to do is you pray about it. And unfortunately, last night, you know, as we were talking, these relationships they can end with fatality. And so while we're, you know, working through our cultural barriers, what happens when those cultural barriers are actually part of the cause of what's keeping us in those unhealthy relationships that could end in death?
Yes.
And when we talk about death, we mentioned last night that it isn't just 30-year-old women who are dying. You're looking at teenage relationships where there are 15, 16, 17-year-olds who lose their life in a relationship.
Yeah, I'm
but
thinking
we're told to stay, let's work through it. I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to work through it. And you know, I'm supposed to stand by my man. My thing is I'm ride or die, as I hear this.
Yes.
You know, I'm ride or die.
Yes.
Literally.
You know, I'm thinking about
That's a literal statement.
Yeah, it was like Beyonce and when her and Jay-Z, that one that one song that made them kind of.
Is it Lemonade?
Not, well, it wasn't on the Lemonade, but
Crazy
in Love, right?
Yeah.
And so how a lot of media, music, perpetuates a lot of those behaviors.
Yeah.
It reinforces it, right?
Yeah.
Exacerbates certain behaviors.
And they make them glamorous.
Glamorous, yep. That's the word.
they I mean, it's what an amazing way to tell a kid, hey, you know, look cool, be like Jay-Z and Beyonce, and love each other, you know, till death, and all this crazy stuff that you see on videos and cheating. And I'm so, you know, we need to be able to get to our young people, to our youth, to teach them all of these risk factors and everything that they should watch out for. Because if we're not teaching them that, really nobody is. I don't think there's anything in school where they're talking about domestic violence and teen dating violence and health, and healthy relationships. So
And what about at a collegiate level? I'm thinking about,
wow,
here you are 18 or 17 going to college.
right.
And those vulnerability factors go even up higher, right? Because really
You're on your own.
Your support system is limited. Right. And you latch on to what you think is ideal, and it's taking up space for you and keeping you entertained. And by the time you know it, you're so entrenched in it, you don't know what's happening or what's occurring. And those boundaries are no longer, you begin to tolerate more,
right,
and accept more,
right,
and start believing in the things that are you being told. And so at a collegiate level, what is being done? I know you talked about Governor Perry for schools, sounds like K through 12, but what about at a collegiate level?
So that's one of the things when we're talking about different resources that are available is what I urge parents and community members is to go to your schools, your public schools, your universities, and ask what they're putting in place. Because just as public schools, as we're mandated to have things in place, so are colleges and universities. So when you asked me about my dissertation, one of my cohort members, my classmates, hers was similar, but it was at the college level. And hers was related to bystander intervention. And what are we doing to help train other college students on campus so that they're not just seeing this taking place and walking by. Because I know you guys have seen like the things on TV where they do, they have the actors who are acting like they're in an abusive situation, and you have the people who walk by, or you have the people who stop and help. So one of the things that she did was her research on that is what are universities doing, and she worked with sororities on their role and their impact in helping to increase bystander intervention programs so that people are equipped to know not to just walk by. What can I do and still be safe? You don't want to put anybody in harm's way either if they're trying to help somebody that is in a violent situation. But what can we do? So public universities and public schools, we're mandated to put things in place and educate students and community. So if you're not seeing that happen on your campus with your children or at college campuses, I urge you to go ask, what are you doing? What's taking place? What can we do here at the school? What can we do here at the college? What can our religious agencies doing? Any community groups? Tasha, like you mentioned, we had that after-school program, and in that program that we were working with, this was one of the topics that we discussed and we worked with the students on. But if you're not seeing that, go ask, because we are required to do that.
And one of the things that I want people to know, we've all worked within different systems, right? Our systems are made out of people, just people. And so we make mistakes. We constantly, there's constant changes. So it's not perfect. There is no system that is perfect. And so as a parent, you need to understand that you have a very big part to play in advocating for your child or for your college student. To the point where you might have to get in there and start
making some noise.
Yeah, making some noise. Some of our systems are not, they're not trauma informed, so they can re-victimize a victim, right? So we're talking about maybe reporting a domestic violence at an elementary level, and the police maybe not really understanding that there could be domestic violence at that level, right? And so they are kind of like, oh, whatever, they're just kids, and so even within our professional organizations and our systems, we have a lot of bias and a lot of ignorance. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot of the statistics. We don't, we don't have a lot of trainings. We get minimum training. And so at times it's going to take you as the parent to start learning what you're going to advocate for, and start talking to different people. Not just, sometimes we kind of think like if it happens at the school, we end up there at the school level. But sometimes you have to take it to a nonprofit organization and say, this is what happened, and they're really not doing anything about it. What do I do next? Who do I talk to next? I think the most difficult thing for a parent to do is sit back and wait. And sometimes as a parent you think, well, I've already reported it. I've already done my part. Now I'm going to allow the system to do what they're supposed to do. And when you give that complete trust to that system,
it fails you. It can.
It has the probability of failure because, again, you're dealing with people. So sometimes you may fall within the cracks, and the extreme can happen, right? So it's our jobs as parents to look in various directions for help, and be consistent, and keep following up and follow up and document, even if it's in an email. A lot of parents don't know that, and I've had a lot of situations where you think, oh, I'm going to give so-and-so a call, and that's going to solve the issue. Well, maybe so-and-so forgot, or so-and-so didn't think that it was that important. And so you're talking about 2 weeks down the line, a month, a year, and then you're left like, well, I don't remember you calling me, And so it's really important for parents to know to document this stuff. If you file a complaint, if you go get a report, make sure that you have some type of documentation to prove that you did this. A lot of our parents don't do that, and so when follow-up comes, when something happens and you have to follow up, they're like, well, sorry, out of luck, I don't remember you calling me. I don't remember you talking to me about this. So that's just what I wanted to mention, because it's happened to me, and it happens to a lot of parents. I can just imagine the parents that don't speak the language, or the parents that don't understand our systems. They kind of just trust that everything is going to go the way it's supposed to go. And unfortunately, that's not what happens.
So, Dr. Simon, what is the most dangerous time for someone to exit or to leave, and why is it so important to have that safety plan?
Well, I think when we try and pinpoint what's going to be the most dangerous, I think that can get us into trouble, because triggers can come with different people at different times.
Okay.
I think what we always want to make sure that we do is that when we're talking about exiting, is that there is a plan in place.
Okay.
Because just as I was mentioning a second ago, sometimes things can go extreme, but they don't always. But I think if we're always planning for that, then it's better be prepared than unprepared. So as you mentioned, their school is one option, but it is not the only option that's available. You have school agencies, you have community agencies. When I worked in Houston, I worked a lot with Montgomery County Women's Center. And although it's a women's center, they also had things that were available for minors. There are things that are in place with law enforcement to also help minors who are in these situations. So finding an advocate, and I know, Tasha, when you and I worked together, you were part of that system in the position in the role that you played at the school. And so that was an additional resource that parents and students had to help them kind of navigate the system and see what this looks like, and to take a good look at what's happening. So in a large school, sitting down with your counselor, when we worked together, we could have made changes to schedules, and as large as the school was, we would be able to manipulate things to where they may not have to come in contact as often compared to a smaller school that they may look different. What typically takes place in the school setting is that we're not supposed to re-victimize. So just as that came across earlier. So in the event that there did need to be a change of placement of schools, if that was an option, then it should be the victim's choice as to whether or not they want to be the one to change schools or if the other person to change schools. You don't want to, I'm the victim and I'm having to move from my school, from my friends, from what I'm used to. You're moving me. When you move me, now you're re-victimizing me again.
Correct. So,
but if that's what I want to do, that's different. Yeah. But that should be communication that takes place, and just understanding what that looks like, and having an advocate that's there in case the parent isn't really sure of what the next steps should be. But like I said, looking at the domestic violence shelters or women's centers that are within your area is something that's helpful, because if they don't have that type of resource within their center, they may know how to help you get that for a minor.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to continue part 2 on next week, and we're absolutely grateful to you to even take the time out of your schedule. I know that you also teach in the evenings, and you've been very gracious to take time out of your schedule, and we look forward to talking to you on next week and providing more details, because this is a topic that you really, how do you fit in 1 hour? I think 45 minutes. And so definitely, we are grateful to you. We're grateful for the work that you've done, for your advocacy. And again, where there's passion, there's advocacy. And so we're just thankful. And I don't know if the ladies want to say anything to you, but we're just going to spend the last 5 minutes wrapping up and saying good evening to our viewers.
Thank you, Dr. Simon.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time and your knowledge.
Absolutely.
And we are so proud that you picked such a important subject to be your dissertation.
Absolutely.
I'm working on my master's, and you've worked on your master's already, and it does take passion. It takes love, and you really want to create social change, and that's why you pick these topics to spend 3 years on to study. So I thank you so much, and we will talk to you next Thursday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Simon.
Have a good night.
All right. Good night.
I wanted to, if I could, send give an email link out. An email link out in case you want more information. I have pamphlets and different things that are available. And so if you're interested in receiving something in print, something that you can have, like I used to give things to teachers where they could post on their wall, because children don't always want to talk about it, but if they can see a helpline or something like that, they'll gravitate towards that, write it down, and they can do it on their own. But if you're interested in resources, you can send me an email at rdf.futures@gmail.com. And if you put in the subject line TDV, then I can send you resources related to TDV, to teen dating violence.
And we'll post it on Latinas Rising, and we'll share it on Facebook, and we'll just share it and post it out. And one of the things is that all 3 of us have also, like Edna's studying sociology, and so across the board, it's not only having conversations, but we're studying and doing the research. And so again, you're a great example of the importance of not only talking the talk, but walking the walk.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dr. Simon.
Thank you, ladies. Have a good
evening.
Good
night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Wow, that was a lot of information.
Good
so what do
information.
you think? Let's just give our listeners that may be parents some quick tips, from all of this, because it was a lot of information.
Absolutely.
What do you think that parents should focus on?
So one of the things, there's several things that can focus on.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the change in behavior in a way that is nurturing and validating. I see you. I've noticed.
Yes, it's good.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I've noticed that you're a little more agitated, or use the verbiage that is most appropriate for the age.
Yeah.
But once you validate someone and the changes that you've seen, that can open the door for conversation, right? And creating a environment that is safe to share intimate information, intimate concerns,
right?
And especially with children, if they don't have the words, the verbiage to identify, to describe that emotion or feeling, then as parents, at least validate. I've noticed some changes. I'm concerned, and I'm here, right? And how can I help you get through this? Right. And so I've actually posted a few ways to do those things, and we can post it on Latinas Rising, ways to communicate to your children, especially when they're having a hard time communicating and they're struggling emotionally.
Right. Good. Tonight, the word that kept coming to me, even writing here, was liberación, liberation. We've been talking about some heavy things that sometimes you feel like you're restricted. So I put some thoughts together, and I think it just wraps up our day. What is liberación? What is liberation? It's just basically the act of setting something or someone free from imprisonment or slavery or oppression. Freedom from limits on your thoughts or behaviors. Taking off the shackles, taking off the chains away. So I leave you with, how do you do this? How do you take off the shackles? Okay, that sounds really good. Free yourself. I think you should take a moment and for yourself, meditate, talk to your inner self, talk to who you are, and find out how and what is tying you, what is oppression, what is holding you back, and then you search. What is it? Is it an unhealthy relationship? Is it a friend? Is it a job? Is it a partner? Yeah. Is it your own thoughts? Because sometimes we get into our own thoughts and we could just stay there for a minute, and it could hold us captive sometimes. And then the next step is just to make the decision to really save yourself, save your life, save yourself from this entrapment, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And then the next steps you could take is basically, okay, who could help me out? What are my resources? Like we were talking today, there's agencies, there's friends, there's family. You have to reach out, because sometimes you can't really do it for yourself. You have the desire, like, yeah, I want to do it, but then and then especially en la comunidad latina, lo que pasa en la casa se queda. Whatever happens in the house, you stay there, we'll fix it. It's our business. No, when you are not safe, when you are really oppressed, you need someone, something to help you to get out of there. And then you do it. And if you can't do it by yourself, don't do it. I mean, there's nothing more important, and it feels so good when you have your peace.
Thank you, Edna. I think with me, it's just a lot. Tasha, I wish you were my mother.
Mama T.
As a parent, sometimes you're not taught how to communicate, right?
Correct.
So we're talking about our parents who may have not had the education, who may have had traumas of their own that they have had to deal with, and generational traumas that come with poverty, that come with immigrating. And so sometimes parents are not equipped to talk about this with their kids, so it's so much. But to the young people that are listening, I do want to remind you and to tell you and to plead with you, say something. You have to say something to someone. If you don't have the trust with your parent, say something to your friend, to your best friend or to a close friend. Say something. Write it down. The important thing is let someone know something is going on. And make sure that another thing that young people do is, especially Latinas, we think that we're so nurturing, right? We think that we can fix someone. I'm going to tell the young people right now, you cannot fix anyone, right? Your love cannot fix someone that's broken. I don't know who taught us that, but that's not real. That's not reality. They need professional, they need professional help. And so those are the two things among all the rest of the things that we didn't get to talk about. But if you're in a bad relationship now, you need to say something to someone. Reach out. If you are in a relationship right now where you think you're going to change someone, you're not. That's not going to happen. Whatever is happening to you now is going to continue, and it's going to escalate.
And trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, guess what? It might not be all right.
Yes. So it's important to just say something. And so our time is up. As usual, it goes really, really
Yes, it
fast. Thank you for
does.
everybody that was listening. Jorge,
Gracias a todos.
Bernardo Valdez, Michelle, Hector, Lori, Alcala, Jesse, and of course Shamar and Jesus Gonzalez.
Yes,
And
thank you.
Jesus and Norberto. Thank you for
Gracias a
listening.
And our
todos.
And
sponsors.
part 2 of teen dating violence is coming up next Thursday. Please join us again so that you can get the second half of this major problem that
That has been described as an epidemic.
it's an
Absolutely.
epidemic, right? So thank you very much and
Buenas
good
noches.
night.
Posada,
Buenas
que
noches
viva la
todos.
mujer.
Oh, yeah, celebren hoy.
Hey Michelle, my birthday's around the corner. I want to throw a big party and wow my guests, but I don't know what to do.
All you have to do is call SCP for your DJ needs and Parties for You for your margarita rentals. They have the best margarita mixes in town. With these two companies, you will wow your guests. They will talk about your party for years to come. For your margarita rentals, look us up on Facebook, Parties for You.
Or call 281-748-0057.
And don't forget to mention SCP sent you.
Together, we are the future of entertainment.
Que no se pare, que no se pare, que no se pare la fiesta.
Hey bartender, we need a round of shots.
Do you want what everybody else is having, or do you want the best of the best?
Of course we want the best of the best.
Well then, Tequila Cazadores is the one for you.
For those special moments in your life, whether it's a special occasion or just a day relaxing with your friends, drink the best of the best, Tequila Cazadores.
This is your boy, Light Jockey Mike, and I just wanted to thank you for supporting SCP Radio. That's the end of our show, but please be sure to check us out on SpaceCadetPro.com, where you will be able to watch our videos, find and like all of our social media accounts, and chat with us. While you are there, click on the radio tab, where you will be able to see the show schedule and all of the different ways to reach us. You can also listen to us from there if you are on a PC or laptop. Thanks again, and remember, we are the future in entertainment.